had a break. You were explaining on the question I asked. If you can recollect, can you please sum up and then we can proceed?
Yes, that's about the abattoir. I think is the next finding immediately after that contract is about the abattoir. Let me just, yeah. Condition of the abattoir, page 3.4.5, sorry, 3.4.5. You want me to?
That is the page in the report that has the pictures of the abattoir.
Yeah. And the condition of the abattoir,
Yes.
Yes. I think she was asking whether any finding about the abattoir, right?
The 8 stores that have been, that were reported to have been built.
Okay.
And the fact that it did not show in the balance sheet, or whether it appeared in the balance sheet. That is the extra 4 million.
I don't think, you say whether it doesn't show on the balance sheet.
What
right?
I mean is, you know, the monies were expended for the purpose of building the abattoir,
yes,
and the stores. And it was indicated in your report that these things were not in their balance sheet. Am I correct?
Oh, I can't. It might be. If I can't remember that. I know the last question you were like, if at all there is any issue about the abattoir, then I was looking for the actual finding.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you get
so
us
now
to
I just yeah.
Yes.
The finding about the abattoir was we inspected the site of the abattoir and stores, which cost nearly 2 million each, and noted both projects were significantly far from completion. There were also significant visible defects with the structure which needs alteration. The plumbing work of the abattoir was incomplete. See sample picture for the abattoir below. Then you have the picture below. And then implication, there is the risk that monies were misappropriated, leading to incomplete structures and defects. The implication is high. Recommendation, management should look into how the funds were utilized, given the poor condition of the structure constructed less than a year, and take appropriate action since the amount involved high. Management respond. The points raised are noted. However, the construction of the building in the abattoir and stores were near completion until the infamous September 2021 rains that ravaged the country hit the abattoir and stores, and they all suffered significant impacts, leading to those defects raised in your findings. Action to be taken, they said the Director of Planning and team will take all the necessary corrective measures to make good the defects and hand over the 2 projects. Officer responsible, they said Director of Planning. When to be regularized, they said immediately. Auditors further comment, no documentary evidence such as reports of the damage to management or council, and it was not disclosed in the financial statement. This shows that there was no value for money given the resources involved.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My question is, you have indicated in your report that almost 4 million was spent, and there was nearly zero value for that 4 million.
Yeah, shared, which cost nearly 2 million each, and noted, 2 million each. So
which is 4 million.
Yes, I just want to. I just want to read as it is in my report. So,
yes,
but that's
if
it.
You add 2 and 2, it's good.
No,
to
you are right.
4 million.
Yeah, it's like
correct.
That's true.
Thank you. So I'm handing over to you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And from the pictures that are displayed in the report, you would agree that there were several portions of the roofs that were missing. There's an incomplete fence, in addition to the issue of the plumbing work that you have stated was incomplete.
Yeah. And they've accepted. Definitely, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I believe Commissioner Fall had wanted to ask a question after you completed with the witness. I don't know whether he wants to do that now or later.
You may proceed, and when you're done, we will ask all the questions that we may ask. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Mr. Trawally, I don't know whether you have access to the management letter of BCC, or for BCC, for the period ending 31st December 2018.
Yes, I should
Okay.
have.
So I just wanted to draw your attention to a similar issue that arose in 2019 that we just dealt with, which is the printing of the GTR receipts and other issues.
Yeah.
So if I can refer you to page 13 of the management letter.
Page?
13, 1-3.
Okay.
Well, 12 and 13.
Okay. Printing GTR from unauthorized printer, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So this was the same issue in 2018 and it flowed into 2019. And in this case, they had also printed invoices for trade license from an unauthorized printer. Well, a printer that was not government printers.
Yeah.
And they had receipts, or they presented justification for the payments.
Yes.
And in this case, the names of the printers, which is Spectrum Press, were stated.
Yeah.
So is this an issue that you had the opportunity to point out as a recurring issue to them?
Yes. It's just because it's not only about the GTRs, and our current report was about the GTR receipt books, and these ones were the invoice, because the finding said section 4.5, paragraph 1 of the Financial and Accounting Manual for Local Government Authority Design designated all receipt lancing books and forms used in the collection of revenue are security documents. The Chief Executive Officer shall arrange for these documents to be printed by the approved printer under strict security conditions and ensure that they are fully accounted for. No other books or form may be locally produced, used, or improvised by the employee of the country. So they said we requested from Gambia Printing Operation GTR book supply to BCC during the scope of the audit, but informed that no supply were made during that time. They informed us that the last supplies made to the council before our scope were in 2011 and 2014 respectively. Meaning before that, GPPA last supplied this GTR book to Banjul City Council in 2014. And we started from the council CRBR book used during the period under review as shown in Annex 4. We made a comparison of the two and could not trace of the books used for the supply from GPPC. We have also not been able to establish the source of the GTR books used by BCC, as the only other supply Spectrum denied supplying the GTRs to the council. Banjul City Council contracted the printing of its trade lancing invoicing and partially recovered books to a private printing firm called Spectrum Press. It, however, continued to print market tickets with the Gambia National Printing Corporation. The reason for contracting from Spectrum Press is not explained to us, but was in place for the entire period of the current audit scope. GPPC is the only approved printer we have established, and there was no evidence that Spectrum was granted authority to serve as an approved printer. So this is just the example, but this is all 2017, September and January 2018. Yeah, they are all in 2017. And then the management response it has always been ensured that all revenue earning books are printed and supplied by GPPC as the only authorized printer. It has been clearly shown out that other related forms like trade lancing, invoice rates, demand notes, partial cost recovery books, and file covers were contracted to mostly Spectrum Press and other private printers. Notwithstanding, it is only GPPC that has been supplied with the rest of GTR and market tickets. It is pertinent to note that Council was keeping a very large stock of GTR that was ordered in 2008 and was in use up to the subsequent order in 2018. Details of the orders from GPPC is provided with the relevant gate pass. And they were like, henceforth, the Council has heeded to the recommendation for the procurement of all books and forms from GPPC. Auditors further comment. The evidence gathered, including collaboration with Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation, indicate that Banjul City Council did not procure the GTRs used during the scope audited from GPPC. The Council was given the opportunity to present to us evidence to prove that they indeed procured from GPPC as claimed in their response, but have failed to do so. We therefore conclude that the Council did not procure the GTRs from GPPC, but rather from a source which they did not disclose to us. This means that not only did they violate the law governing procurement of security documents, but refused to provide us with evidence that limit our scope in the form of information on the source of GTR. By implication, this means that so much revenue may have been unaccounted for as we could not ascertain the completeness of the quantity of the GTRs we have reviewed. So this has been happening, has been a practice at the Council. So the same thing, continued up to 2018, 2019, when certain GTRs were found, but not from the printing.
And they still have not provided any indication of who printed the GTRs?
No, they still haven't. They still haven't.
Thank you. On page 14, sorry, back to the audit report for the year ending 2020, December 2020.
2020, right?
Yes, on page 14 of the management letter.
On page 14, right?
Yes, paragraph 3.2.2.
Sorry, I'm just page 14, right?
Yes, unconfirmed comparative figures.
Sorry, these things. Unconfirmed comparative figure, yes.
Yes, you made a finding that you could not confirm the comparative figures of the 2019 financial statements due to the non-submission of evidence for confirmation. And you also pointed out that there was no audited financial statement for 2018, and you have explained why. But they have responded that during the audit, the responsible officer was sick, I believe, and so they could not provide documents, the deposit slips. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, on confirmed comparative figures, just as I've mentioned, financial statement must have a comparative figure. That's the last year figures, because the closing for those balances will be the opening, and you have to look at the, how authentic, how credible are those figures, so that their users will be informed. Because if you see something in last year and you see a change, the users, that's where they will ask, but why this change? So the notes will be able to explain. And then here on confirmed comparative, we could not confirm the comparative figure of the 2019 financial statement due to the non-submission of evidence for confirmation. Please note that there was no audited financial statement for the 2018. So what we're trying to say in 2018, because at the National Assembly, they've agreed for councils to start preparing their financial statement in 2019 because of poor record keeping prior to that. But again, what we agreed was there are 2018, at least the closing balance for 2018 were produced, and then we used those ones to confirm them for you to start the 2019. But for BCC, this wasn't the case. And then, so that's what the query is all about. And then their response was, during the audit, the responsible officer keeping the deposit slips was on sick leave, and accessing the deposit slip was not possible. Now that she resumed work, all the requested deposit slips are available for your pursual. Deposit slips provide for consideration from January 2020 to December 2020. And then the auditors further comment, we understand that FPAC and PEC make recommendation for the City Council to start preparing financial statement from the year 2019 as highlighted in the audit finding. Therefore, since the 2018 financial statement were not audited and it is used as the comparative figure for 2019, there is the need to provide evidence of the 2018 financial statement balances. However, if the City Council wishes to comply with the FPAC and PEC recommendation, the comparative figures can be removed from the 2019 financial statement. The reason for the non-comparative and any brought forward balances or adjustment made from 2018 should be disclosed as part of notes of the financial statement. The audit finding was not about deposit slips, but on confirmed 2019 comparative figures. So just as I've explained, they said you can start preparing financial statement from 2019, but at least there were transactions in 2017-18. So those closing balances, the ones that you think they are there, is just to bring those ones of the auditors to confirm that, and then we start a new page. But that is what has not happened. And then for them, their response was just talking about the deposit slip. So it's like they were answering it in a different way. And one thing about this answer also, we always want to make this thing clear. When we are auditing, we don't audit individuals, we audit institutions. I think I see some of these things to be so unfortunate. At times I feel we are exposing ourselves when you will see a very senior public official or telling you, this wasn't my time, I wasn't here, as if they are auditing you as an individual. That's why proper record keeping should always speak for itself. Whether you are there or not, the office should still go, and then the record should guide an independent reviewer. So to say, so-and-so was sick, so the deposit slips were not accessible, that alone is a serious internal control weakness.
Thank you. On page 17, page 17 is really a continuation of the issues raised from page 15, improper maintenance of cash book. And I believe you touched on those earlier, cash book, bank reconciliation issues, general ledgers, etc.
Yeah.
But on page 17, under auditors' further comments, you raised, I believe they provided some cash books to your audit team. And your further comments were that the adjusted cash books for the years 2019 and 2020 presented were not in line with the requirements of the above financial and accounting manual for local government authorities.
Yeah.
And you further noted that the 2019 and 2020 brought forward balances as per the adjusted cash book were over and understated. And you said these were actual bank balances.
Yes.
Now, from the table that is on that page, you see that the closing balance at 2018 and the opening balance at 2019 have a variance of about 500,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the closing balance of, well, the closing balance for 2019 and 2020 seem to be at par. But can you explain this a bit better for us lay people?
Yes, what happened was we are just trying to highlight the lack of maintenance of a proper cash book. Just as I've explained earlier, the cash book revenues coming should be entered at the debit side of the cash book, and then revenues, money paid out should be recorded at the credit side of the cash book. And then at the end of every month, you do your bank reconciliation, because the bank reconciliation will show the errors, maybe a check that has been paid but have not been clear at the bank. It will bring those unreconciled items, and then you get your transaction right. But in this case, what happened was like they have not been maintaining it. So at the end, it's just the bank, the figures in the bank. That's what they are just recording in the cash book. So that is why the cash book wasn't able to balance, and it's showing some month it will be overstated and some month it will be understated. So that's just the analysis we did here.
But then it's the closing balance and the closing balance for 1 year and the opening balance for the next year. Is it that the dates between them are far between? Because how do you get on, if it's that it's the end of the last day of this year, say 2018, this is the balance, and then the first day of the following year, how is it that you would have a discrepancy?
Yeah,
if that is the case.
Everything being equal, it shouldn't, because the closing balance should be the opening.
Yes,
Your
exactly.
closing balance should be the opening balance for the next year. But that is provided you are recording as how it should be.
But you have stated that it is the bank balances that they have provided.
Yeah, that is it, because that means that is the figure, because you cannot just, because the cash book and then the bank, these things are related. If I receive money, I record it in the cash book as debit. If money is deposited at the bank also will receive that one as credit, but you are recording that as debit. So when money is paid from your bank, you record it in your cash book as credit. Money recorded as, so that is how they are. So it's all about record keeping. But if you are not doing that, you are concentrating on only your bank payment, and then you are not doing this reconciliation. At the end of the day, you just say, okay, you print your bank statement, this is the balance in my bank, and you record that in your, instead of making the record keeping, you now working retrospectively. You just print your bank statement, and then you want to record that in the cash book. So that is what we are bringing on. So because there is no bank reconciliation, and based on that, you cannot prepare a credible financial statement.
Thank you. At page 22 of the report, or of the management letter, you have a finding in respect of suppression of collections amounting to $195,120 in respect of daily market ticket sales and monthly canteen rent, etc.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, we noted a suppression of 195,000 in respect of daily market ticket sales and monthly canteen. These were cash paid by revenue collectors to the main cashier, who did not bank nor pay the cash to the main office. This was noted from the accounts department, reported and verified by the audit team. What happened was the main cashier at the market, was receiving this money, but instead of banking it or paying it back to the accounts, the person has not been doing that. And then we realized a suppression of revenue. So anytime there is this suppression of revenue, no matter the amount, how small the amount might be, we give it a high risk, because it's the act, it's the action. The action is material by nature. So that is what happened here. And then the implication, there is risk that the suppressed revenue might not be recovered, leading to material loss of revenue to the council. And then all the GTRs and the amount are mentioned in the table. And the management response, valid observation, and is well noted. As a management, and working with the administrator and acting market manager at the Albert Market Unit, we wish to provide the following background information, which also form part of the response to this matter. It was on the audit draft report of misappropriation of cash collection from 11 February 2020 by Albert Market Cashier, which was in bank or credit to the council's account at Trust Bank. The amount of $195,120, which was supposed to be banked in February 2020 from the daily and monthly rental revenue collection, was not banked. Management found out during the period under review, the market cashier was admitted to Mboyen Clinic for a period of 2 weeks due to complications she suffered within her early, she was sick, and then due to the complications she suffered. She resumed to office. The market administrator handed over bulk of cash comprising the market denomination, including coins and revenue collected by the market administrator during the period she was admitted. Confirmation was done upon her receipt of the accumulated revenue from the administrator. She banked the available revenue received and realized a shortage, which she immediately reported to the administrator. The introduction and support of the daily banking by the Director of Finance in January 2021 was exceptional and relief of handling bulk cash at the office, and will prevent suppression of revenue or a future recurrent of such acts. Action to be taken: the introduction and support of the daily banking by the new Director of Finance in January 2021 was exceptional and a relief of handling bulk cash at the office, and will prevent suppression of revenue. And then action to be taken, they said person since back to work, and the following mitigation tools have started to be employed. They said the person has since been back to the work, and the following mitigation tools have started to be employed. She has been moved from the market to records unit. Yeah.
So
immediately, and she will be deducted from source starting May 2022 until the full amount is recovered from her.
You don't have any further comments under that?
Yeah, there was.
Does that mean that it was the amounts were deducted?
I think it all came. I just want to see whether it was here. There was no auditor's further comment. This was 2019, 2020. Then because there should be an auditor's further comment. But I know the matter has not been, because they said the time they said they would take the action will be after our audit. So it can only be confirmed in the subsequent audit. Yeah. Okay. It can only be confirmed in the subsequent audit. But what happened was they've accepted, and they are just trying to explain how it happens, and they said they've moved the person from that to records, and then they will be recovering the money. Yeah, they will be recovering the money from her.
Now you have, again, unpresented GTRs at page 24. And I'm not sure from your finding, but it appears that these are serial numbers that you got from printing prior to going on the exercise, and you couldn't locate these GTRs. Is that correct?
Yes, unpresented GTRs. This other one, the GTR used, this might be the one from printing, or even if it is, because it's a separate finding. This one is talking about these receipt books given to a particular collector. There is no evidence that the collector has, present, because if you use these GTRs to do your collection, that's why it is like general triplicate receipt. You have the original, the other, counterfeit should be there, and then that one should come back, should be at least filed, so that auditors will say, okay, this is the amount collected. And then they will use that, counterfoil this to confirm. But that one has not been submitted to the auditors. So the section is saying, council shall make available at all time for inspection by the Auditor General the accounts being audited together with books, papers, vouchers, cash, money relating to this account. So the finding, the council did not present some of the GTRs requested for review. These books were part of the sample selected from Gambia Public and Printing Corporation extract. Details are, So these ones, yes, you're right. These ones are from the printing, but they were not submitted to the audit team for verification. So there is risk that the money received with this GTR might be misappropriated, since the supplier and the quantity of books received were not known. So these were the books that were extracted from the printing, but they are not found. They are not physically found at the premises of the council. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to confirm. You also have, after that, unpresented cash books. And you have stated the names of the collectors and the periods. Yeah. But there's no indication of what funds were collected, if any. Can you elaborate?
Yes, unpresented cash books for some individual Albert Market collectors were not presented for our review as details, because if you use this money, these GTRs, you collect the money, each GTR, each receipt should be entered into a cash book the day you collected, the date, the amount collected, and the receipt you used to collect that amount should all be recorded in the cash book. This is what the auditors will look at: the ticket, the cash book amount, and then the bank, whether it had been bank or where that is for accountability purpose. But if the cash book is not submitted to us, then auditors are not able, they are limited, they are able to do that verification. Implication: in the absence of the cash books, we could not determine if the money received were paid to the main cashier for banking, and if all tickets issued to the collectors were accounted for. We don't know, because the cash book has not been submitted to us. And then their response was, in response to the National Audit Office draft letter finding and queries of the Albert Market, they didn't present some individual collectors' cash book and noted an unconfirmed GTR book serial number, which were not part of the GPP supply. During the audit exercise, the acting market manager took all the 2019 and 2020 collectors' cash book from the market to council for the audit exercise, including those mentioned individual names listed on the list. And after the completion of the audit exercise, acting finance manager returned back all the cash books to me for safekeeping. The cash book of the following individuals will be present for verification for the second time on Monday, 28 March 2022, and he mentioned the name. And then they said the said query has been contested. Auditors are saying these cash books were present for review after the draft management letter was issued to the city. So it has been addressed. It wasn't issued, but after they brought them and the auditors verified them. So according to the further comment, they have been confirmed.
But that's after this management letter had already been issued?
No, the draft.
Okay, the draft.
The draft was issued and they haven't. So, but after that, then they brought the cash books and then auditors verified them and then, Because the reason why some of these things, when the draft is sent and they later present them, we will still leave the finding there, because during the audit, the moment we send an engagement letter, you should make sure that all the documents are in place. So for you to be in that back and front auditor's draft, also you submitted it later, we just bring it so that others can know. It's not a good practice, because these are some of the things that will cause lack of presentation of documentation.
Let me refer you to page 28. I know that this has already been touched on. It's about the overpayment of contracts for UXL, Mamlai.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to confirm that in actual fact, what happened was that they presented to the audit team 2 different contracts with 2 different figures.
Yes, according to the auditors for document, Initially, the document presented and then the second one were different.
And do you remember whether both of them were signed by the parties to the agreement?
Whether both of them were signed?
Were signed.
Yes, I believe because I believe because but I don't want to, but I can confirm that. I think this is something that I myself want to confirm from the files. So yeah.
So when you're able to confirm,
Yes.
could you let us know, or perhaps provide us with a copy of the contract itself
I will
if
do
you
that.
have
Yeah,
it?
I will do that. So.
Thank you. And at page 31, which is also something else that has been touched on, the deaggregation of procurement
Yeah.
and all the payments, or well, the payments amounting to, I believe, 1,814,000 were paid to Katim Ture,
Yes.
who is the director of planning, I believe. Now, from this report or during the course of the investigations, were you able to confirm whether this was a contract that BCC was actually carrying out itself through the director of planning, or was it contracted out to somebody else, but the payments were being made to Katim Ture?
I think in this case, according to the audit finding, they just gave an impress to the director of planning, and then he was using the money. So as far as review of document is concerned, it was paid directly to this director of planning, instead of tendering it to invite for outside contractors.
So are you saying that he was the contractor, or the payments were just made to him, possibly for another contractor, which you have no documents for?
Yes, what is clear, as far as the report is concerned, the money was paid to him instead of tendering it to contractors.
Okay.
So maybe what that might say is like he is the one who carry out this thing. Yeah.
Yes, that's what.
But that's why the query is saying instead of tendering it to this, it was paid to him as an interest. And then if you look at the action to be taken, strengthening the finance department has started, and procurement has also been beefed up with qualified people to stem such mistakes. And they said the acting director of so what they're saying is like is noted, and then they will know. So that means it was carried out by himself. So even if other people are contracted, but he is the one, yeah. And
do you know, is there a limit or a ceiling for impress payments? Because I mean, they're impress of 97,000, 154,000, 450,000.
Yeah.
Do you recall from the financial manual or other finance documents whether there's a ceiling for impress?
For silver impress, I might not be sure, because impress normally they are just giving impress of this amount will be like when there is an activity, you are just giving an impress and you just conduct that activity, let's say a function or whatever, then immediately. But I think even that one, they try to control those things. But this is contract. And then this is contract. When you get to a certain threshold, at least there are a series of these intricate and competitive bidding, and then although that's what it should follow, and then the reports, and then whoever win will be awarded the contract, but not to pay it as an interest to, especially the staff of a council. That is, you are violating the procurement law, and there's also a conflict of interest.
Now, at page 34, paragraph 3.4.6, on the procurement without tendering, you have made a finding that the council made a procurement worth 13,039,850 for the purchase of 3,000 trash bins without adhering to the above GPPA Act, and a single invoice was provided as evidence of supporting document. Now, can you tell us more about this?
Yes, this was at the time of at the draft, the council made procurement of 13 million and 39,850 for the purchase of 3,000 trash bins without adhering to the above GPPA Act. A single invoice was provided as evidence of supporting document. And then that is what happened instead of sending it to a GPPA. So our implication is there is the risk that goods might not be procured with appropriate quality and at competitive price. So management responded, they said, observation noted, Keba and Sons' observations are clear and valid, but BCC lacked the competent staff to do the proper procurement and advice at that material point in time. I said the BCC have taken great strides to set up a special procurement unit under the leadership of Senior Procurement Officer in April 2021. The Local Government Service Commission recruited for BCC a Senior Procurement Officer in the name of Mr. Keda, who went an extra mile to recruit another procurement assistant in October 2021, and then all those things. And then the procurement was handled by people who do not have procurement knowledge, but the council has established specialized procurement unit to avoid the occurrence of such. We concur with your audit observation on procurement and tendering, and you will equally agree with us that an institution needs competent personnel and staff to do a proper procurement. We are of the belief that this issue will be a thing of the past, as the SPU is now performing and getting the job done for council. And then the auditors for that, we have engaged the Local Government Service Commission for the recruitment of competent staff to manage procurement. These are now 3 staff headed by it. And then what to do, they said the issue of procurement and its attendant problem are now fixed at BCC. Auditors for the City Council provided the tender document, which we reviewed and noted that restricted tendering was used for the procurement process. So instead of open tendering, it was a restricted tendering, but they sought for that approval from GPPA. Whether it was done retrospectively or whatever, but it was later tender. So that's why we mentioned that they later submitted something, and then, yeah, instead of restricted open tender, it was restricted tender, yeah.
Very well. From pages 36 to 39, it deals with an undeposited auction sale and an auction sale of a vehicle. And essentially, the crux of the issue was that they didn't follow the procedures for disposal, and as well, they were misappropriated monies in respect of the sale. Can you just run us through that briefly?
Yes. Auction, if you are on deposited auction sales,
Yes.
we noted an undeposited fund 78,230 to the City Council account in respect of auction sale of a motor vehicle, Toyota Land Cruiser, for 231,530. We confirmed that 153 was received and deposited. In addition, the buyer paid the undeposited fund to the City Council on 19 August 2020 and 26 April 2021. So the balance, this was an auction sale, and then the amount was 231,000, but only 153 was paid at the time. And then it doesn't follow the actual procedures for the auction. The implication is there is risk that the balance was misappropriated, leading to loss of revenue to the council. And then their response, please find accompany one of these receipts issued to the buyer of the said disposed vehicle. Also included in this submission is an extract of the payment breakdown as per council's daily revenue analysis. So the auditors for the receipts were provided and confirmed with the ledger. So that's fine. The balance was later paid. Non-compliance with the disposal procedure. But again, auditors has a query on the disposal procedure. Regulation, Financial and Accounting Manual for Local Government authorities state that when stores and other assets have become obsolete, redundant, or unserviceable through normal wear and tear arising from usage or passage of time, the CEO shall duly inform the contract committee comprising the head of department and internal audit for the purpose of disposing the asset. The CEO should cause a list of all to be prepared of such items showing the following: their description, original cost, reason for the write-up, the value, the current estimate. The contract committee will advise the CEO. All these things are requirements if you want to dispose something. But the finding, the council did not conduct the auction in line with the requirement of the above regulations. There was no evidence that the CEO informed the contract committee comprised the head of department and internal audit for the purpose of disposing the assets. The CEO did not prepare a list showing the description of the items, the original cost, and the reason. The service of a competent engineer valuer was not hired to determine the value of this. The service of a government licensing auctioneer was not engaged for the auction. Procedures for the auction were not documented. So these were another additional points. And then they responded to say, we have taken action to remedy such occurrence within our work at BCC by forming of a disposal committee and inspection receiving committee. We concur with your audit observation on procurement and tendering, and you will equally agree with us that an institution needs competent personnel and staff to do a proper procurement. We now have a disposal committee and inspectorate receiving committee within the Banjul City Council. This was their response. And then auditors doesn't, because at times, as I said, because this is what the law said, it need to have a government auction, something. This is a law from GPPA. So if you said, yes, we are aware, but you need to have a competent person, we also develop our internal listing. So some of those things, we think there is no, it's for the readers to know whether you have, because this is law. So that's the state of that finding.
And it appears all of the procurement issues are laid at the feet of the Service Commission because they're saying they don't have competent staff. Throughout these queries that I have seen that deal with procurement, that has been part of the response.
Yes, yes. For them, they will just be like, because they don't have a competent procurement to conduct this.
Let me refer you to page 40 under unbudgeted payments. You have noted that payments of $394,276 were not budgeted in the approved budget for the year 2020. And then details of samples are below. There was a payment for commission on services for $138,166 to the chief cashier. And then there was a payment, advertisement cost for third party, XL Standard Company Limited, for $40,480. Then there was a payment to a security commissioner, commission on services, $213,630, and another commission on services, again to the chief cashier, $2,000. Before I ask you about the implications, were you in a position to tell what the commission on services was? Was it for the staff?
Yes, what the names I'm seeing here, I believe they are staff. Because when they said on chief cashier,
yes,
security commissioner, I believe they are staff. But the reason the commission, paying commission on service, that's why the auditors just unbudgeted, because we don't know why is it, why is it. So unless maybe,
because it would indicate that the staff are able to provide services to the commission and get a commission from the transaction.
You know, that is not normal in public sector. There maybe if it is, but this one there's not like commission on, you know, because you are paid to do a job and then you do your job, you receive your salary.
Exactly.
Anyway, but that is maybe their response will, but this is why we flag it.
Okay.
And then implication, we said this violate the above regulation, which might lead to lack of funding to finance budget activities. And then recommendation, the CEO should ensure that payment made by the council are within the approved budget or through supplementary funds as per the above manual. And then their response is, on budgeted payments, these were as a result of wrong postings of budget head. The budget heads that authorized payment as per 2022 budget estimate for payment of commissions on service and publicities and advert is provided for your visual. Auditors were like, we were not provided with evidence that these were wrong postings to the wrong account heads, and no proof of rectification was provided for audit inspection.
Is it possible for such payments to be under wrong posting?
For them, that's what they said, because wrong postings mean, because for me, my biggest problem is, in fact, about commission on payment, commission. That's what we don't understand. And then they say it was a wrong postings, but no evidence has been provided to us on that. Well, auditors, we always want to give the benefit of it. If you say this, we want to documents to be, so that we can be clear about what actually has taken place.
Okay. At paragraph 3.5.2, you have noted payment of $200,000 without supporting documents to Banjul Relief Initiative. It says the payment was made on 20th June 2019 with payment voucher number 352 in respect of COVID-19 emergency support to the Soma community. And you had some other things to say. Can you run through that?
Yes. For all expenditure, appropriate payment voucher must be completed by the finance staff. The payment voucher must be accompanied by appropriate supporting document. So in this case, we noted a payment of $200,000 without supporting documents to Banjul Relief Initiative. The payment was made on 20th June 2019 with payment voucher number 352 in respect of COVID-19 emergency support to Soma community. According to the finance manager, the community of Banjul formed this association to provide support to the citizens. We could not establish how funds were received and disbursed by the BCC. Our implication, we are like, in the absence of supporting document, there is risk that the payment is not genuine. There is risk that this payment was from council fund without being budgeted in the approved budget, leading to excess expenditure. And then the response was the payment paid to Soma community was from the funds mobilized by the Banjul Relief Initiative and deposited to council on behalf of the initiative. So auditors were like, no supporting document was provided for our confirmation. For them, they were like, the fund was raised, mobilized by the Banjul Relief Initiative, and they paid it to the council account. But there is no supporting document for that, as far as auditors are concerned.
Pages 42 and 43, you have highlighted payments that were not verified by the internal auditor.
Yeah.
And these payments amounted to $4,583,000 and $28.83 butts.
Yes.
When you check, a lot of these payments were salaries and wages. The sum of $449,310 and 12 butts was paid to the chief cashier.
Yeah.
Actually, several payments. Another payment of $305,000 odd, $527,000 odd, $678,000 odd were all paid to the chief cashier, and a payment of $299,000 odd was paid to the acting finance manager, and all of these were without supporting documents. Can you shed some light on this?
Yes. Section 504 of the Finance and Accounting Manual for Local Government Authorities state that all payments must have been properly analyzed and certified by a relevant officer, including the internal auditor, before they are passed to the Chief Executive Officer for payment. The Director of Finance and his team is responsible for the preparation, but the internal auditor is there to verify and certify before it is taken to the CEO for the payment. The council made several payments without evidence of verification by the internal auditor. So this is the payment amounting to $4,583,028.83. If you see payment of salaries, yes, they might be genuine payment, but the issue here is the internal auditor has a responsibility to vet all these payments. If there is any error or anything, he can bring it out to the attention of the managers to mitigate the risks. But in this case, there is no evidence that the internal auditor has, verified these payments before they are processed. So there is risk of lack of adequate supporting document or detail occurring with the affected transaction, which might not be detected and correct on time. Because if these payments were not properly supported, the errors, whatever happened, it will go undetected if it doesn't pass through the internal auditor. So that's the risk. So management responded, they said action taken to avoid such occurrence, forward to the internal audit department for verification, acting director of finance. So what they said, they were like, it will be forward to the internal auditor for internal audit department for verification. I don't know, but it should have passed through the internal auditor before the payment. But now they're saying they will take it to the internal auditor for that for verification after the payment has already been effected. Yeah.
But would it be fair to say that, or to assume that the only reason why salaries, if it's genuine payments, why salaries would be paid to the chief cashier for those amounts, or the acting finance manager would be if the salaries are going to then be paid to the staff in cash?
No, yeah, that's another thing. You know, the council, I know this was the chief cashier, you know, some staff receive their salary in cash. Even though I know in the central government at some grade you can't, but at certain grade you can still receive in cash. So I know they're still paying some staff on cash. So these are maybe the payment done to the chief cashier to be able to pay those who are on cash. But the issue here is, even with that, it should pass through the internal auditor to verify, so that if there is any abnormalities on the payment or whatever, he will flag it. But if you do it, the payment has taken place and you said now we are taking it back, because like the payment is done, you are just doing it retrospectively. The objective and the purpose is defeated already. And
would this also pose a risk where you have raised issues of payroll, or where, if you're saying the establishment register has issues, it's either incomplete or there are ghost staff? Would it be fair to assume that where such salaries are being paid in cash, it is difficult to know whether some have been misappropriated or not?
Yeah, and you know, cash payment by naturally is of high risk. Cash payment by, so that's why the internal auditor need to be part of the process, so that he can flag if there is any risks, rather than coming back after the process. Coming back after the process, that's for external auditors.
Just to take you back briefly about the 200,000 payment in respect of the COVID emergency support, do you find it usual, in respect of perhaps other councils, for private individuals or private initiatives like that to pay funds into council accounts?
It's not, because council is different from the reason. Maybe the auditors might not, because we don't just want to say it is wrong or it is this.
No, not wrong, but is it usual? As it is in
no,
your
it's not.
experience,
No, it's not. With other councils.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not usual. And then if you see it private, this thing being paid to councils for, it's an area where auditors has to find out why, the documentation, the reason. And then, so if that is not clear, so we definitely has to flag it. But it's not usual. It's not a usual thing.
Thank you. I refer you to page 45 on deduction of withholding tax. So we've gone through several contracts with BCC ranging several millions. And you have pointed out that no withholding tax has been deducted by BCC in respect of any of these contracts that you have reviewed. Can you tell us what the implications of this are?
Yes. According to the Section 89 of the Income and Value Added Tax Act 2012, a person who retained the service of a contractor or subcontractor to carry out work or supply labor or material for carrying out the work shall withhold tax at the rate of 10% of gross fee or other payment made to the contractor or subcontractor in respect of the service. So, but during this, we noted that the council did not deduct withholding tax from the supply of goods and services for the period under review, and non-deduction of this withholding, the implication is a violation of Income Tax Act, Value Added Tax Act. And they responded to say BCC management has started implementing the deduction and holding tax due to government through GRA and respecting the protocols of withholding tax. The director, they said now they started doing it. So that can only be confirmed in the subsequent audit.
Okay. You have pointed out an issue that we have pointed out previously with another witness, which is overdue acting appointments. And you have stated several staff, about 8, I believe, that have been in acting positions for several years. And you have stated that it is out of order, essentially. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, according to the overdue acting appointment, according to the general order of the general order, stated that 02203 of the general order stated that where any officer has acted continuously in a post for 6 months, the Public Service Commission shall automatically approve he or her substantive appointment unless an advertised report is submitted on he or her performance or conduct. So during the audit, we noted that several key positions at the council were on acting appointment for more than 6 months in contract to the above general order. There were no report on staff performance or conduct. So their names, like some of them have been, acting for a long time, very long time without being, So the implication is the practice of keeping appointees in acting position well beyond the required period and without assessing the staff might result in underperformance without notice. And then we recommend that they should review the affected appointment with a view to regularize the appointment as required by the general order. So their response was, this is a valid observation. However, sometime in 2020, a directive came from our line ministry, the Ministry of Local Government and Land, that councils do not have the mandate and audacity to promote, terminate, or dismiss any staff. Subsequently, a communique came last year, meaning July 2021, that councils can promote and hire from grade 6 downward. We are waiting for the ministry's directive and approval to kickstart the process of confirming these positions and officers. We have started engaging the ministry, and recently we wrote to confirm the new director of finance. Now, the remaining positions and portfolios will be treated accordingly in due course. Please find information attached for substantive fees. Auditors further comment, we have not received any evidence during and after our audit exercise to confirm that the council did write to the ministry concerning about the above issue.
Thank you.
Yeah, they said they wrote to the ministry and then all about, we don't have any evidence of that, so we can't.
Very well. We were able to confirm some of this from the ministry.
Yeah.
Under debtors, receivables, page 49, unrepaid loans, you have flagged unrepaid loans of 40,000 owed by 2 non-staff at 20,000 each. The repayments were due several years earlier, but it is still an issue. And you indicated that issuing loans to non-staff might lead to non-repayment, leading to loss of funds to the council. And the council responded. Can you just go through the response and any further comments?
Yeah, the reason, some of these things are strange, but this was since 2013. The reason why we flag it is like because it's been appearing on their financial state balance, on their debtors listing. That was the reason why we flag it. Since 2013 has not yet been recovered. And then issuing loans to non-staff might lead to non-repayment, leading to a loss of funds to the council. And then again, their response was the loan allocated to the 2 women was in respect of a council resolution to support the 2 women selected by the government to go to Mecca, and a resolution to that effect was passed. The people and staff concerned were engaged for possible recovery. Furthermore, the query is noted and council will improve means of recovery. So this happened since 2013, but it's just in their books. That's why we just bring it out so that at least they can regularize it, either to write it off or, do something about it.
There was also staff loans of 136,429, which were not repaid, and the staff are no longer working with BCC.
Yes, 136 were not repaid. The staff were no longer working with BCC, and no evidence was provided to ascertain that efforts were made to recover the loans. Now, these were The two of them were 2017, and then the other three were 2019, but they were all former employees. The other one, former councillor, and the other one, the contract was terminated. And they said the loan allocated to the two women was in respect of a council resolution to support two women selected for the maker. So they are just reporting the same thing. But the reason is like we are trying to bring out here, if you are giving any loan, there should be a loan policy, there should be a guarantor. So these are serious internal control weaknesses. Because public fund, whoever is to benefit, has to be a bona fide staff. And then again, even if it's a bona fide staff, there should be policies in place so that if the person defaults, you'll be able to recover from the guarantor. So that's why we brought in some of these things.
And I note that the two of the persons listed are former councillors,
yes,
not actually staff of the council. In your experience, is it usual for the councils to give out loans to councillors? I might not know, because I think the councillors are, you know, for us, if at all there is a policy, that councillors has to be this, we can, but we don't see any policy, so I can't. So for us now, it's just a flag that it has been issued and then the role is defeated, and there is no, we don't see any document to see that they are recovery or what action they are doing about this. Okay. You have stated at page 55 that BCC did not have, well, to the effect that they didn't have an assets register because no assets. You said, we note that assets purchased for the years 2019 and 2020 were not recorded in their respective fixed asset registers. Yeah. Did you see an actual asset register that would have had assets that were purchased in previous years but were in the register as at the date of the audit?
Yeah, the findings here, we noted that asset purchase for the years 29 and 20 were not recorded in their respective fixed asset register. And then their response was, oh, they haven't responded to that.
Yes, there's no response.
Yes, that means maybe the asset register is there, but they purchased assets in 2019 and 20, and then they are not recorded in that register. That's what the finding is talking about. But you know, they haven't responded. Otherwise, then that will give us a clue. But by going through the report, by going by our report, it assumes that it's just telling that maybe the asset register was not updated. They purchased assets and they didn't include them there.
The page after that, you have stated that you note key information such as the insurance policy and date of disposal of assets were not included in the fixed asset register. So what I'm trying to find out from you is if you recall during the course of the audit whether there was actually an asset register. Were you presented with one?
Because the finding, I didn't see any finding about the unavailability of what they're saying, because this is what the asset register says. They should have the date of acquisition, the cost, the description, the location of that, the insurance policy, and then the date disposal and the condition. But they're saying the assets purchased in 2019 and 20 were not recorded in the asset register. So what that implies is the asset register is there, but these assets were, because asset register can be there, not meet the requirement, because like most of the key things are missing, or maybe you are not updating it. Because it's just a book or a template. You can develop it, and then if you are not updating it, it's as good as not in place. So that's what they're saying. So if at all it is not there, I know that one will also come as part of a separate query.
Okay. Page 57, on the governance review, you have stated that the council did not provide minutes of meetings of the council and or other documents for the years 2019 and 2020. We were not availed with personal representations of personnel of the council during both planning and fieldwork stages of the audit, even after several requests. Can you tell us about the implications?
Yes, if you look at it, this is a requirement from the General Council, and then the council did not provide minutes of meeting of the council and or other documentation for the year 2020. We were not able to have personal representation or we were not availed with personal representation of personnel of the council during both the planning and the fieldwork stage of the audit. The implication is in the absence of minutes of meeting and discussion with the personnel of the General Council, it will be difficult to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of the council. So management response was this. Management response, we have started on a whole scale to take and document all minutes of all meetings within council. Starting from the general council meeting to contract committee meeting, we are producing and documenting all minutes. This has been implemented since around the end of 2020 to date. We are receptive of the benefits and the legal ramification of these minutes going forward as an institution. It has been a typical issue for BCC management and taking its stance to stem the tide of lack of meeting. We've coopted secretary to the deputy mayor, Fatoumata something in all committees and general council to take minutes. The auditors further comment there should be a council clerk as required by section 44(1) of the Local Government Act 2002, which states that there shall be a clerk of each council who shall be appointed by the Local Government Service Commission. Therefore, BCC need to hire a council clerk as per the Act. So what happened was there was no minutes, but they agreed, they said if they will. But again, during our audit, we also, apart from the management responsible for the day-to-day, we also like to have interaction with the councillors, so that some of the governance issues, so that most of these issues will come out clearly. But we made that request so that we can have that interaction and this thing from the councillors and get their view about the governance structure, but it wasn't possible. It wasn't possible. So that also contributed to this problem, these issues.
And it would be fair to say it has a financial implication as well, because councillors are paid also per sitting, and where you cannot verify that the sittings did take place, any amounts can be paid. Yeah.
Okay. But minutes should be the evidence of sittings or meetings or whatever.
On page 61, you have highlighted the non-use of softwares. The council spent $456,000 on QuickBooks accounting software and integrated HR and payroll system. And you have stated that there's a risk that the money was wasted on purchasing these softwares because the softwares were not being used. Can you tell us what was their explanation?
Yes, because that is it. If you use money, public money, to buy a software and then you are not using it, well, then that means the money could have been used for something. The implication we say in the absence of a risk management policy, this software, right? Your finding is about the software.
Yes, the QuickBooks software, the payroll software.
3 point what?
Sorry.
Page 61.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, on used software. Okay, that's fine. We found that on used software, so if you spend this money on of 456,000 and then it has not been used, then there is a risk that money wasted on purchase of those software could have been used for other activities to benefit the public. And then recommendation, management should provide genuine explanation for not using the software after spending much. They responded to say management will engage Kubejara to restore the service so that we can start using that well-built software package. That was their response. They said they will start, engaging that one for them to start using it.
Interesting. I don't know whether the commissioners have any questions for the witness.
Yes, Honorable Fall.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That all council funds are to be lodged into a consolidated account as per the Local Government Finance and Audit Act of 2004. And furthermore, any funds that have to be expended or spent has to be done in line with the financial and accounting manual. And
That's
that is,
correct.
yeah, and that is for all funds.
Yes. That's
Because the funds that are used for the development are collected within the locality and used for the development of the locality.
yeah.
Are you aware of the fact that there are other partnerships that council has with other outside institutions that are providing funds to the council? I will come to name them very shortly. But what I want to know is if funds are collected or received on behalf of the council from another institution, shouldn't they not be in the consolidated fund? One. And then secondly, we have 3 projects at the Banjul City Council. 1 is the EU project. 2 is the city of Banjul sister city, Banjul Austin sister city. And thirdly is the Refala project. And funds are accrued from these projects to the council for the betterment of the citizens of Banjul. So during your audit exercise, have you had the opportunity to audit these different projects? Or are the funds of this project or the funds accrued from this project amalgamated into the consolidated fund? Thank you.
No, these Rafela and then the EU, because projects are there. Each and every project, it will depend on how it has been designed, because even at the central government level, for example, there are projects, funds, they are public fund, I must agree, all projects are public fund, and any project that comes to the council, it comes because of the citizens, not at personal level. But when you come to the audit of the project fund, at times it will depend on the agreement. Some will say it will be audited by private audit firms. Some of the donors will even have their own auditors that will come and then conduct the audit. So when it has to be audited by National Audit Office, then we will be informed about the project, and then during our audit, then we will conduct an audit on that project also. But these things has not come to our knowledge, as far as I'm concerned, that they are other, because even government, they will write to us. Over time, the Auditor General will write, but most of the time they will write to us to say there is a new project, and then we are writing to the Auditor General Office to conduct an audit. And then some of the donors will specifically mention that it will be audited by the National Audit Office, but some of the donors will have their own auditor. They can say it can be audited by private audit firms. But as far as these projects you've mentioned are concerned, there is no review or no documentation that come to the attention of my team to say that it should be audited. It's like we don't have we don't come across any documentation or get any information, any formal information about this project. Yeah.
What about if some of the council's funds are used in the implementation of these projects? Do you, for example, do social auditing so that there wouldn't be any form of duplication of procurement? I have a project that I am running, and then I have the council that I am running. So I can go and purchase 75,000 wheelbarrows from the project. And then at the same time, I can use fictitious procurement to get 75,000 wheelbarrows from somewhere else when it has already been paid for by a project. So that's why I'm asking whether in the course of your audit, have you kind of discovered any parallel spending? Because I know we know, all right, evidence is coming in, that there are some funds from councils that have been used in some of these projects.
Yes, as far as I think the only ones we flag will be, for example, when you say the payment of these to some no supporting documentation, payments made without supporting documentation. Maybe those are some of the things that we can, okay, we saw this payment, but we have no idea why, because documentations are lacking. Because what I want to make clear, that is why auditors, they will be like, you should have a strong management in place, because it is the responsibility of management to make sure that there are strong controls mechanism in place, so that if there is any irregularities or whatever, it can be addressed by coming up with an internal auditors and then all the other stakeholders. Because external auditors, we are external, we are outside. Our work and this thing is limited. And then most of these things, if they are happening, and then maybe you don't have any correspondence or you don't have any information, it is difficult for you to know. So that's why even if you look at one of our query here, lack of minutes, and then access to counselors, because these are some of the things. For us, when we go out to audit, we will have an interview with the Director of Finance, the CEO, the chairperson or the mayor, and the councillors. Various councillors, those in the finance committee, these are some of the things that we wanted to have an idea. So if at all we have that opportunity to say, but there is these things happening also, then auditors will be able to do further work and then even request for those documentation. But if you don't have that opportunity, you are only confined to the document, the public fund or whatever. If I thought there are other projects that you haven't seen any correspondence or that you haven't seen any file about it, you are limited. So some of these things we'll just be hearing people talking about it here and there, but you don't have most of the after the audit. It's just that maybe when you go back again, then you can try to, control certain people or whatever to have an idea and then dig into it more. But for the period under review, for this period 2019-2020, I know the audit team doesn't come across any file concerning to those projects or any correspondence for us to be guided.
Finally, my last question. You did mention the issue of the rates register and also the trade license register. The rates register is based on the Rating Act, and valuation of properties are done, and then each property is assessed, and based on a percentage of the assessment, that is the rate that the ratepayer pays. All right. In your audit exercise, have you been able to reconcile the invoices, collection against the valuation in the register? Because if a property is supposed to pay $5,000 per annum, in actual fact, when the receipt is made or it is made or the payment is made, when you reconcile, I'm not saying that you do a forensic exercise to look at each and every one of the payments, but have you been able to discover any anomalies where a rate is pegged at a certain amount based on what is on the register, and then less is paid?
Like what's supposed to be paid, somebody paid lesser than what's supposed to be paid. I think that is why even if you look at one of the queries, there is issue with the valuation issues. The team, and then they will say the rates areas or the amount collected cannot be verified because we don't know, the actual value that has been that's supposed to be paid, and then the amount, and then how did they determine the areas. So these are the financial issues that made us to express this disclaimer of opinion. So you look at it. These are among the reasons why we even express a disclaimer of opinion.
And one of the biggest areas of leakage of revenue is not more on rates, but on trade licenses, businesses. That is where most of the, for example, in the city of Banjul, it is the rates from the commercial areas that are subsidizing services in the community, because the rates that we collect or the rates that the council collects from the citizens is very minimal. But then when it comes to trade licenses, that is where the problem lies. Properties are assessed, but then when it comes to collection, it is undervalued.
Yes, and this is the reason why internal controls is key. By appointing an internal auditor that is competent, because the internal auditor is the council on a daily basis. These are some of the things that he will have an idea. So his report, or when the external auditors are there, these are some of the issues that you can, because it's not possible for external auditors to come. We have to design strategies to ensure that if there is any fraud or whatever, our procedures should be able to detect it. Because external audit is based on sampling. You don't take each and every file. So when we go at times, it's risk-based approach. Documentation is a problem. I think as part of our key audit matters, we've highlighted this. The constraint that we have, documentation was a challenge. This is for the readers to know that we are limited. And based on that, we cannot express an opinion. You request for certain documentation, maybe some of these you're talking about, even the referral things or whatever, maybe there might be documents. I'm just saying maybe. There might be documents. But if they are not coming to us, there's no way that we can know what is happening at the council. So we'll be limited. So having strong, right people at the right place always help an institution. Because that's why the internal auditors should be strengthened, and then they should be competent enough. Because they are part of whatever is happening in the council, they have that privilege to know and work with the external auditors, and then for us to corroborate and then come up with the findings. Otherwise, it's not possible, any external audit, to bring out all the abnormalities in the council within that sort of time frame, because it's based on sampling. Yeah.
Finally, I'm surprised that you are not aware of all of these projects that are going on. And I think there should be some kind of a good partnership between the National Audit Office and the Ministry of Local Government, Regional and Religious Affairs. Because council cannot engage any international partner without the approval of the ministry. All international arrangements, twinning arrangements, sister arrangements, projects and so forth, have to be approved by the ministry. Even if the ministry doesn't approve it, they have to be informed. So they are in the know. And they should also inform other stakeholders like your institution.
That is fine, but yes, but from us as external auditors, that is normal, because even if there are projects, you don't know the integrity of that project, the project arrangements, you have no idea, because we only review the policies or files review, and then that will tell us what is happening or what each and every transaction or project should be operating. And then if it is deviating from that, then we will flag that one. And then if you go, the file submitted to you, you have your interview, and then nobody talk to you about a project here. Because even if there is a project, to say that all projects should be, some project might even open a separate account. But there should be that accountability. Either the council finance will manage it, or maybe they will appoint a project accountant. So when that happens, then fine, you can know. But if I come here, there is a project in this hall. I'm outside, I just came. I don't see any file. Nobody talked to me about it. It's not possible. It is the responsibility of the people appointed here to make follow-up and share those things with the auditors. Then the auditors can come up with audit strategy to see if there is any abnormalities. Again, that's why our report, we are very open when you come to this thing. I've been telling you some of my strategies. I don't write, but I'm confident in saying this because I know the effort that I made even at personal level to be making follow-up with the relevant people at the ministry as far as councils are concerned. And then when my team are in the field, the effort we will do to talk to people who are not even non-management staff, because for me, at times I will say the information that I got from the management can be biased or whatever. But I will tell my team, at times the information you got on certain matters from the cleaner is more reliable than the one that you got from the CEO in some areas. And then we make sure that the councillors, different councillors also, our doors are open. But you will meet a particular this thing, there are a lot of corruption going on here. And then you want to have an interview, because interviews are part of the audit procedures. And they will not tell you anything. They will not bring any evidence to you. What can you do? And then any audit finding you are writing, write it as, even if you are asleep in the wake, you will be able to defend it. Audit reports can end up being on court, and it's all evidence-based. So you don't just operate on hearsay. It's the people in the management, competent people, who will be able to share information with you during the audit, and then you apply your audit procedures to get it right. So maybe this is the difference. If it is an investigation, that is another thing. The police can go do that. But auditors is just based on procedures, and then we don't go outside that. We are also careful when conducting those things. Yeah.
Any other questions? No questions? All right, I have two questions, Mr. TRAWALLY. During the course of your findings, did you find out whether there is distinction between the role of the CEO and the team and the councillors?
Yes, I think it is stipulated in their various policy documents, because for us, we will just go, we will look at the act. What does the act say as far as the CEO? What does the service rule say? What does it, and then based on that, yes, we will. And then, yes, we are aware of that as auditors, the role of the CEO, and then the role of the councillors. We are aware of that. So that is why, when we are there, we'll make sure that as much as we engage the CEO and his team, but we will also try hard to have that interview and then that interaction and this thing with the councillors as well, so that we can get other information that might not be readily provided to us by those responsible for the day-to-day administration.
Yes, my last question is in relation to what my colleague have asked with respect to some of these projects. You do realize that some of these projects are subvented. Okay. So is it part of your role to make findings about those subvented projects in a view to finding out how those projects have, executed their project in the municipality? The reason for me asking this question, because the subvention is coming from government, and that subvention is taxpayers' money. Yes.
Yeah, our responsibility, audits and investigations are different. When we write our engagement letter, is to say, to provide any document or any information to provide it to the auditors. So when we get there, during the file review, interviews, collaboration, and then this, and that will tell us if there is any project or any other activity in the council. But during that, if you don't come across any letter in the file, none of the stakeholders, let's say the management staff, inform you about these findings, you have an internal auditor in the council who should be preparing reports for the council and the ministry on a quarterly basis. You don't see these things in the internal audit report. We review the monitoring team from the ministry, their report, and you don't see these things in that report. And for the 2019-2020, there was a committee set from the ministry. I can't remember the detail, but it was a bulky file. We reviewed that, and you don't see anything of that nature in that report. How can we just say there is a project here, and we need the reports of that without, getting any of this information from the insiders in that council? It will be very difficult. And then again, these reports are sent to all the oversight, and they don't tell you that, but there is something that you need to look at. It will be difficult. They are discussed at the National Assembly, and they didn't tell you about they are, because we need to be guided. Otherwise, we might go and then found ourselves wanting, being unethical and unprofessional. So we are very careful when conducting an audit, because audit also has procedures, and it's all evidence-based. This is the challenge as auditors. That is why, if we are limited, then they can go and then conduct an investigation by sending the police to go and then conduct a special investigation.
Thank you so much, and I believe that this is a convenient point to stop, and we'll end the proceedings for today. And we will continue tomorrow, Mr. Trawally, at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much, and we can rise.
Thank you.